This week on Third Degree, we probe the deadly consequences of bullying. Coming up in this program, horrifying cell phone footage showing cyberbullying turned physically violent. How catching bullies early could reduce gangsterism. And our top story, a victim of bullying who allegedly took deadly revenge. Now, a recent survey found that a staggering 57% of South African students say they have been at the receiving end of some type of bullying at school. It's their number one concern, and it's not hard to see why. As in this tragic case, a young boy who it's believed was the victim of sustained bullying until he could take it no longer, and things turned deadly with catastrophic consequences. Producer Lindy Mpanza investigates. Please note that in order to protect a number of participants in this program, we have hidden their identities. A young student from Vosloorus on the East Rand laid to rest after a classmate allegedly shot him.
But still, Tuesday means he's gone. It was a shock.
Within days, the shooting made headlines. It was alleged the youth who died, Nkululeko Ndlovu, was a troublemaker and a bully, and that the student who allegedly shot him, Tsundzukani Mthombeni, was one of his victims. He simply couldn't take it anymore. With Nkululeko Ndlovu no longer alive, we spoke to a friend who was with him on the day and narrowly missed being shot himself. This is his version of events. Sia, not his real name, admitted that it all started last November when he and his friends snatched the cap from another student, Tsundzukani Mthombeni. A fight broke out. Tsundzukani ran. The next day, Sia and his friend Nkululeko Ndlovu went looking for him. They wanted revenge. Instead, he pulled a gun on them.
Before Zofia closed na mangimbon. What 10 or keep his palm, shy short straight. Isn't as in the valley fast. Shot la corner lang mista, our pants. The minute you want to could say close nine. Might we are 10 could lego pegamina, 10 on shaggy short and throw.
The alleged shooter then turned and fled. Chaos erupted.
Nanglena street bukopa, angfia going to la villa, agasanyagas against needs. Mara BP, he hatchak a beat. A sologan pizzing in Bambi.
Nkululeko died soon after. He was buried, and the blame game started in earnest. The story goes that the shooter was a victim of bullying. This, of course, will still be tested in court, but if it turns out to be true, what made up the fatal cocktail that led to the tragedy? How did it get so out of hand? Were teachers not trained adequately? Prior to the incident, they only had a circular on how to deal with bullying. Did the parents influence events? And as for Nkululeko and his friends themselves, did their behaviour play a part? After all, they were reported to be vicious bullies. He admits that the alleged shooter, Tsundzukani, was afraid of them, but he claims he had no idea why.
No, la panginga is to take a cabanga. Marama, Mabekuluma, but no man if it but be Sava. Maybe be Sabalantole.
He also admits that Tsundzukani was teased by students for being Shangan.
Angas between me and I, Mtubani, baby Shoban, Marabaton Kuleo.
Psychiatrist Dr. Jan Shabalala says that in his experience, the victim was probably bullied over a period of time.
And he built up anger and he thought of plans how to avenge himself. So it had been going on for a long while. Because when you're bullied, you get into a stage of desperation, not knowing what to do. Because one of the hardest things about being bullied is that nobody believes you. Almost nobody, including your own parents, actually believe you. But they look at you, but you don't have any wounds, you don't have anything. But it's not about being wounded. It's about being spiritually tortured and tormented.
Nkululeko's friends deny categorically that he was a bully, but they do admit he was problematic.
Yeah, mara sometimes most of the time bebimthola ngaphandle. Then amakhesi into engayisho ukuthi esikoleni besitoti ngayile betholakala ngaphandle.
Nkululeko was an only child. His mother left him in the care of his gogo. She believes he was a model of good behaviour.
Yes, bekumuntu ongakhulumi. Beke ngingane ngakhuluma uNkululeko ukukhuluma nje noma ukumthethisa bengakwazi ukuphendula.
But she does concede that at a previous school they'd complained about him smoking dagga.
Yabona into abangakhulunywa ngayo yilama drugs wabantwana bethu. Abebesibiza nje besibizela ukuthi hey ubheni insana. Uyokuphela into abesibizayo.
When the lady who does psychological support went to the school, so went to the family, she spoke to the other kids and they were saying, oh yeah, what was his name? Nkululeko or something?
Nkululeko, yeah.
Yeah, Nkululeko. Yeah, he normally takes our food.
Oh, is it?
Yes. And they're saying that in front of the grandmother. And the grandmother says, yeah, but my child was sweet, he goes to church, he was not a bully.
You might be surprised, you know, your sweetest child at home could actually be the worst bully at school because they are able to cover up, they are able to disguise, because you must remember, these are children or people who carry anger impulses. So they've carried it all throughout their lives and they're able to disguise it very well, except when the situation allows them to express it.
In the aftermath of the shooting, the Department of Education said the school had reported Nkuleko's behaviour to his parents.
We are aware that the child had some issues that needed to be dealt with, and the school was working with the grandmother to address some of the behavioural problems he may have had.
But Nkuleko's gogo disputes this. She only heard of his bad behaviour after the tragedy.
Bafrema umntwana wami ngokuthi ubully worldwide waziwa ukuthi umntwana kubulewe ibully eFosloras. Nginesho ukuthi kune step ezilandelwayo esikoleni umntwana makeso. Yeah. Esiphi abake basenza noba siyi1 bangibiza bengibizela ukuthi ubully.
And so the accusations continue. To get to the bottom of them, an independent investigation will try to establish what went wrong. As for Sia and other friends of Nkuleko's, they have all been expelled. And 18-year-old Tsundzukani appeared in court in January, charged with murder, theft, possession of an unlicensed firearm, which he allegedly stole from his mother's safe. It's a tragedy for all concerned. Little was seemingly done to get the situation under control before it ended in bloodshed. Coming up, cyberspace, a bully's new hunting ground.